Hi, friends. Today I'm joined by Jennifer Knick, who is a public school teacher turned homeschool mom. When she isn't busy homeschooling her two children, she provides parents with fun educational activities and organizational strategies at organizedhomeschooler.com. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi.
Well, could you start by just telling us a little bit about your family and how you came to start homeschooling?
Okay, so I have two children. They are now 12 and 15, but this is our 10th year homeschooling. So when we started, they were 3 and 6. The plan was always to use public education. I was a public school teacher and took a break when the kids were born. And, we had our big family plan of once they were in school that I would go back to teaching in the classroom. And kindergarten was fine for my oldest. And then first grade was awful. I mean, it was just a bad situation, a teacher who didn't want to be there. And we had many, many meetings with her before October.
Yes.
Yes. And so by November, I was in there once again, trying to help her. I was offering to get a sitter and come in once a week. I had a teaching degree and a valid license at that point. And she very bluntly said, if you don't like the way I'm teaching, you should homeschool. And so,
Well, then.
yeah, I said, okay, well, then that's what we're doing. And I called my husband as I was walking out of the school. And I was like, I think we have to homeschool now.
How did he respond to that?
He was like, all right, let's do this. Because, he knew the struggles we were having with the teacher. We thought we would homeschool for just that 1 year, get past that teacher and then try again. But we were having such a good time that we decided to just keep going. We're going to do it until it's not working for us anymore. And at this point, I can't see a situation where it would stop working for us.
There are so many moms that I talk to that'll say something, as they're graduating their oldest child, and they'll say, we've always taken it just 1 year at a time, but it always was what we wanted to do the next year. So, well, how has your approach to homeschooling changed or grown and developed over those years?
So when I first started homeschooling, I had more experience with the classroom than I did at home. So I kind of took what I wanted to teach and made that fun for the kids. It wasn't necessarily what they were interested in, but what I wanted to teach. And then slowly we adapted that. So I was teaching what they wanted to learn for the most part. Obviously things like math, there's a progression to it, but I was able to kind of tailor everything to them, which I didn't necessarily do in the beginning.
Well, what are some of the most important strategies that you think homeschool moms can employ to keep our homeschool, which then just sort of is like the biggest part of our big life, to keep it somewhat organized?
I think there's a couple things. One is in terms of the general stuff that accompanies homeschool is that everything needs a place. If there's always a set place that the papers go or science equipment goes or books, whatever, then it can be put away at the end of the day. If no one knows where it goes, it's just going to sit on the table because no one knows what to do with it. And then if it has a specific place, it's easy to go find whenever you need it. And the second thing is a plan. I'm a big planner because if I have things planned out, I can get a lot more accomplished in a day than if I just kind of wing it.
Has that changed at all as your children have gotten older? I'm trying to imagine, even when they're both little, you can have a place for everything, but you're still probably having to do most of the work of keeping up with that. How has that changed as they've gotten older? Do they have more ownership of their own organization, or?
They do. Yeah. So in our house now, we have a loft upstairs and I don't touch it. If they make a mess up there, they have to clean it up. They clean up their own bathroom themselves. I don't do their laundry anymore. These are all things they can do. And so there's no point in me adding it to my to-do list. And then they also help cook. The end of the day, they'll help put all of our stuff away. And sometimes I have to, remind them to do these things.
Right.
But it gets done, and I don't have to be the one doing it all.
Well, how about on your side, the planning of the school, record keeping, that kind of thing? How has that changed as you now are in the middle school and high school years?
So for middle school, I keep it kind of the same as I did in terms of record keeping when they were little. So I just kind of save things that I think are either really cute and we're going to look back on, or like writing samples, that kind of stuff that we'll just save probably forever. But then for high school, I have one of those accordion folders, and I think it has 24 different spots in it. So I figure if she takes 24 classes, 24 credits, then there's a spot for every class. And so I keep like work samples, tests, and I doubt that will ever be called upon, but I just like having it there. And then I also keep a list on my computer of like her books that she's been reading for school, a running list of grades. So I don't really make the transcript until closer to the end, but this way it's there. Course descriptions that she's taken. I keep it all in my Google Drive. That way I can just add to it and I can print it out. But also my husband has the password to it. And if something were to ever happen to me where he needed to be the one to create her transcripts, it's all there for him.
So with record keeping, I think it's so smart to keep track of it as we go along, because there are things that you'll think, oh, I'll never forget that. I'll remember that. But I can barely remember what happened last week. I don't want to be getting to senior year and having to think back on everything we did in 2020 or whatever.
Well, then you add a couple kids in there and it's like, wait, who did what?
Exactly. Yeah, I keep it. That's a smart idea to keep it in an accordion file folder. Ours is just in a notebook, and I use those the clear plastic page protectors that have the hole punch on one side, and I can just slip pages in there and keep just a very, very few things. I think as a second generation homeschooler, I have a lot of motivation to keep very little, like as much as necessary, and nothing more, because my mom is still having to sort through all the things that she saved. And then you're looking back at it and it's like, oh, look at this beautiful math page from when they were 7. And you have all that emotion because now your children are grown. It's much harder to get rid of those pages. Now I'm just like, throw it all away. Okay, well, I really want to ask you a question about curriculum mapping, because I saw you sharing about this on Instagram, and yours is such a fun Instagram to follow. And I was like, what is this magical thing that she's doing? I would love for you to tell us, like, what exactly it is. Is this something you do for every subject with textbooks, or just if you're making up your own course? Tell me all about it.
So it's kind of like the scope and sequence of our school year. And I do it in at least a little bit for every subject. Now, something like math, where we're just kind of going through the textbook one lesson after the other, I look at our calendar for the year and say, okay, we can probably get through these 3 chapters in September and these 4 in October, and kind of map it out. So I can kind of keep us on pace to finish it by the end of the year. Of course, if they get off pace, that's fine too. But this gives me just kind of a framework for it. But then for other classes, whether it's a textbook, like science, we're using a textbook, but I'm added in a ton of different activities that I found online. It kind of gives me a place where I can organize it all. I can see exactly what's coming up next. So if I know we're studying a certain topic in February, I can kind of, as I go through the year, when I see these ideas on Pinterest or whatever, I just slip them into the plan so that it's all right there. Yeah, I do it for both kids for every subject, and I do it over the summer so that when I'm doing my lesson planning during the school year, it's maybe 45 minutes on a Sunday evening to look through and see, okay, well, this is next, and here are all the assignments I want to do for that. Here are all the video links. Here are all the books we're going to read, and I can just kind of copy and paste it from that into their weekly worksheets.
because that's something else I love, having seen what you do, because I think that trying to schedule out like every single day, every single page number at the beginning of the year, those of us who have been doing this for a while know things are going to happen, they're going to come up. It's really hard to do that, and it can just end up being exasperating.
Right.
But to have that big picture where you kind of know where you're heading, then each week you're able to plug in exactly, okay, this specific week, here's the next thing I want you to do. So it kind of it combines the flexibility of the big picture with the planning and the order and the discipline of the week at a glance.
And it prevents that feeling in the spring of going, oh no, there's no way we're going to finish this before the end of the year. Because you kind of have kept up with that pacing.
Yeah. At the end of the school year, we like to do what I call a what's left list. And each kid, we just take everything they have left and we put it on one page, like when you have about 4 weeks to go. And you're so tired at that point, and they can start wanting to slack off. But I find if I put everything just on one page, we actually move away from the week at a glance and just go to that one page. And it's like, all you have left is this one page. And they get so motivated because they can see that end point is actually accessible to them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, every week I give my kids a list of all of their assignments for the week for every subject. And I give it to them on Sunday nights, and it's due Friday at 4. But if you have like a holiday, like the week before Christmas, I said, okay, when you're done, you're done. And they've never worked harder to get their work finished so they could have, an extra day or two of break time.
it's so good just teaching that responsibility as well, and ownership of their work.
Well, and before we did that, I found I was constantly like after them, like, okay, come on, we need to do math, or put that away, let's do science. And now I'm available to teach from 8 to 4. If they want help, they can come and get me. After 4, I've got other things I'm working on, and it's kind of almost like office hours. Like it's built in that responsibility of, oh, if I know I'm going to need help with this, I probably shouldn't wait till 8 p.m. to do it.
That is so smart. And, there are going to be, I think, a lot more parents this fall in particular who are having to work from home full-time or part-time while homeschooling, possibly unexpectedly. And that's a great tip just for kind of blocking the time with homeschool office hours. And then that also protects your own work time as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And it saves frustration. When they thought I was available all day, they would wait until they felt like doing it. And it was a constant stop and start for me of my other projects. And that was too frustrating. So this way, I will happily stop what I'm doing until 4 o'clock.
Well, this is a great segue into what I wanted to ask you next. I know that you have other projects and work that you do. So what are some tips or strategies you would suggest to the mom who is seeking to work from home or work at home while she's also homeschooling her children?
I would say, if you can block off time, that's really helpful. And then let people know what you're doing. Like if you have something you need to do at a certain time, it's always, something at 10 a.m. Let them know I can't help you at 10 a.m. So they have the right expectations, but also choose curriculum that's going to support you. Like if you are super busy with outside things, that might not be the year to choose a curriculum that's going to require a ton of prep work each week. Because there's so many different curriculums. You don't have to choose the ones that might look really good and work really well for somebody else, but if they require things that we feel like we should do, but we can't do everything.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be a hard thing to accept as a homeschool mom. Whether you have an additional part-time job or full-time job or not, just when it comes to any of us choosing curriculum, like we can't do all the things, and we have to choose which things are most important to us and to our family, and then just sort of live in that and not look around at all the cool things other people are doing. It's okay that our family is just doing our family's things.
Right. Yeah. And kids sometimes have great ideas on how to do that too. Like my kids are doing a painting class this year, and I asked them what they wanted to do. Like, did they want to go to a paint studio? Did they want to do like a virtual lesson online? My daughter chose a book that she wants to start at the beginning and work her way through. But my son said, well, we have Bob Ross. I'm just going to each week put on a Bob Ross and do what he tells me to do. All right. I don't have to do anything for that. Like, I buy the supplies and then he does it on his own.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's my daughter, and one of my daughters really is enjoying cooking. And so in 8th grade, I always sort of give the kids this 1 year. Normally, I actually do pick what they're learning. We're not very child-led, although I certainly listen to my children and think of them, but I direct our curriculum plan. But in 8th grade, it's sort of become this tradition that you get to pick whatever you want for science, like that last hurrah before high school. And so she's doing like cooking and baking chemistry and all these things. So she just ends up being like, I need you to take me to the store, or Mom, here's my long grocery list. I'm like, all I'm doing is buying the food. And then she makes fabulous food for us to enjoy. It's fun. Well, this fall, I'm asking 2 questions to every guest at the end of the episodes. So my first question for you is, what are you reading lately?
I have been reading The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, but I've been listening to it. Like, I don't have the time to sit down. And honestly, a lot of my work is sitting. So when I'm not working, I want to be up moving around. So I listen to it through the library app while I'm cleaning the house and cooking dinner and that kind of thing.
Very fun. I have not read that one. And then my second question for you is, what is one thing that you would say to a new homeschool parent?
I would encourage them to just relax and know that it's going to be okay. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's homeschool. It probably won't look like public school, but it's okay. You know, even if they're just doing it for the 1 year, their kids are not going to get wildly off track, no matter what they do in just 1 year, but that they get to have this extra time with their kids. I mean, they grow up so fast and then they're out of the house. So just extra time with them.
Yeah, that's so important and so encouraging. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Jennifer, where can people find you all around the internet?
So the easiest place would be my website, organizedhomeschooler.com. And then from there, there's links to Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, all of that.
All of those places. Great. Well, I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you.